Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be the long overdue review of the Endgame Gear XM2we. This is not the XM2we that went up for pre-order around a year ago at this point. This is a new mouse, the Wireless Essential Edition. This has a 3370 sensor, Kailh's new optical switches. It's 63 grams, and it comes in at $80. So it's an affordable mouse, and it's really solid. Like, I will admit that. Endgame Gear, it's no doubt they handled the launches like pretty poorly, but this mouse being available like in stock at the time of this video, it's just a really solid product all around that, to no surprise, I am a fan of. The coding and the build quality, some of the things that made the wired XM1 like really stand out, are still going to be present on the Wireless Essential version, even though it is like a cheaper version, a secondary launch to their original wireless mouse. Like, they still obviously did focus on the quality and providing a premium experience. The box, like, all you're going to be getting is the dongle, like a cable, and the mouse. It's nothing crazy in that regard. Like, it is just an essential package. There's no 4K hertz compatibility. The 3370 implementation is just a fine wireless mouse implementation. It doesn't feel on par with like a Razer 4K hertz dongle, but compared to, let's say, the Lamzu Atlantis' 3395, it's going to be very hard to actually tell a difference in the sensor like implementation's quality. So there's no need to worry about that. The clicks are one thing to mention because they are an optical implementation that does feel pretty close to how their kailh implementation felt on the wired XM1. So they are going to be heavy. They're not like Razer's opticals, which have a tendency to be pretty mushy. At least on my copy, they have a very sharp click feeling, but that does come at the expense of them being a bit heavy. It has loosened up a bit as I've used the mouse more. You see it develops a little bit of pre-travel, which makes the clicks actually feel lighter. It's not like something I'm complaining about. In terms of click quality, very solid. Not really anything to note in terms of side-to-side wobble or grinding. As I mentioned, just a very premium put together mouse. The weight does come in at 63 grams, which I don't think anybody is really going to care about. It is lighter than the original wired version. It's a company that is not cutting corners to focus on weight reduction. They're putting in things like full switches for the side buttons, kailh 2.0s, pretty decent sized battery. So it's like there are reasons that this mouse is not in the 50 gram range. But that being said, it still feels extremely well balanced. It's around the same weight as a super light. For claw grip, it feels exceptional. For fingertip grip, it is a bit wide. I do prefer something like the Lamzu Mini if you're looking for the same shape, but something better for fingertip grip. But still, with the grippy coating, the familiar shape, the lighter weight, solid switches, really good quality, like, there's just very little to hate about this mouse. If you had a wired XM1, that was $70, so this is $80. It's an upgrade that makes a lot of sense. It really is a better mouse, especially if you've been using an XM1 for years at this point. Like, you deserve an upgrade. If you have an XM2we standard pre-order still at this point, you're, first off, like, you're insane, but I would recommend canceling it, getting this, because then you save $40. You can like do some sports betting, and you get a mouse that is actually a product shipping out. It's not a product that they are still working on the firmware for, which is just like, I don't know, XM2we, hopefully it releases at some point. But the XM2we, it's really hard to complain about this offering. Of course, I do have to compare this to the Lamzu Atlantis. Lamzu basically came on the scene with their XM1 wireless alternative, the Atlantis, which I said was an extremely close shape, and as you can see by the comparison of the profiles, it is extremely close, not identical. The one thing I would say is that the Atlantis kind of has a lower and wider hump, while on the XM1 it definitely does have a higher point, and then it's not as even towards the sides. This does give it a different, I'd say more aggressive feeling in the hand. In terms of a size difference, it's really just going to come down to where your palm actually makes contact, but I would say that I have a more stable, locked in, like, wider feeling with the XM2 than the Atlantis. Does this mean the Atlantis is a bad mouse? If you got one, should you like burn it and get an XM2? No. But yeah, I would just say after using both that the XM2we is just a more premium, well-rounded mouse, which is a weird thing to say because the Atlantis is so good. But I would say the main factors that I notice actually being improved are, of course, the second to none grippy coating, the skate design being larger, which kind of factors in with the exceptional weight balancing, because even though there is around a 7-gram weight difference, just moving the XM2we around, it just feels more fluid, a bit less janky, if that makes sense. And it's not really a knock on the Atlantis, it's just that the XM2we, this is a mouse that could have existed a year ago, especially with the 3370, but now that it's out, it's hard to knock because everything does feel very well implemented. But of course, if you do have a larger hand and can't make the XM1 shape work without it feeling like super large and clunky, you have a few options. I would say most straightforward one is going to be the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. The Pulsar X2 got called an XM1 clone for so long. Like, look at these fucking shapes. They're nowhere near similar. The X2 is a lot more blocky, nowhere near as wide. Like, they have a similar side profile somewhat, but aside from that, it's like they're really by no means clones. But yeah, with the XM2we even being $10 cheaper than the Atlantis, it's hard to make a case for the standard size Atlantis over this. You're not really going to notice any difference with the 3395 with motion sync. Like I mentioned before, the build quality, I would say I gotta give the edge to the XM2. The battery life is also good. I've only had to charge this mouse fully once since getting it 2 weeks ago. So yeah, that's going to be all for this review. If you could not tell, this is going to get the seal of approval, and this was not even a review unit. I was getting led on about a review unit from Endgame Gear for so long that I just bought one secondhand from somebody who got a unit from the first batch. So this was not like a biased review. This is just honestly what I think. I've been a fan of the XM1 shape for a long ass time, and if you just want that in wireless form, this is my recommendation. One thing I noticed though is that it got really dirty on this right side crevice. It's like not dirty at all on the left side, so it does look kind of ugly. I'm sure I could clean it out if I wanted, but that's just one thing to note with the white. The coating has not gotten like greasy or anything like that. Just a solid mouse, seal of approval. Check it out if you're interested. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Want to see more mouse reviews in the future. That is going to be all. Peace.